Hey, good afternoon, everyone on the line today, and I hope you're safe during this period of time. And it has been a while we haven't really done a webinar talking about the construction issues and even with some sort of um, um, some sort of topics that we think will be relevant to you. Allow me to introduce myself again. My name is Desmond. I am the CMO for BUILDSPACE. Today's webinar is actually an extension of the one we had actually done earlier this year in April, where we talk about contractors' profitability in the project. So this time around, we freshen it up and also enrich a little bit today to share with our new friends here, especially we had quite a turnout today. Thanks again. To share with you all in the relationship in relation to the features we have in BuildSpace and how do we actually develop a winning tender prize in BuildSpace Pro. So we'll be looking at 5 ways to develop it, and also some of the scope of discussion will be also focusing on the way we price our tender, the way we used to price and the way we're going to price, and also the risk and also the steps we can take to improve our competitiveness in a tender submission. Let us start with introductions here. We will spend a couple of minutes to share with you what is BuildSpace and how do we segregate and also target our target users. And also we will also elaborate most on the risk associated in tender estimating and how they will potentially affect our profit in the long run. And also we will break it into 5 ways where we can do in BuildSpace to enhance the competitiveness of the tender price. We will also include the session today with a little bit of implementation plan, and also towards the end with a question and answer. So along the way, if you have some questions you want to post it up, you can actually write it in the box there, and then we will answer it collectively towards the end of the session today. All right, let's start with BuildSpace at the beginning. Then back in year 2000, actually our CEO, Mr. Chu, was the sole distributor of BuildSoft. Then we get involved in NETI. NETI is actually a national e-tender initiative, as you can see from the screen right here, is launched by CIDB and JKR. That's when the whole thing has a background of BQ, the whole thing has a background of e-tendering and also procurement for construction industry players at the very, very beginning before we have BuildSpace. So up until year 2011, that's where Mr. Chu and also his friends, our CTO and also our system architect, Angel Hasley, will start to also establish our homegrown brand for our BQ system. That is why we have BuildSpace today. So over the decade, in year 2012, we started to do our R&D, and BuildSpace Pro is finally launched in year 2013. Ongoingly, we have some requirements gathering from major developers from EcoWorld, SP Setia, Samdabi, Sunway to develop our BuildSpace eProject. And in year 2018, Gamuda started to implement BuildSpace in phases, and now full swing with their setup in Vietnam's offices. And since we attracted our investor last year and this year, we have a more extensive rollout plan to reach out to our users, including developers, professional associations, media partners, our QS undergraduates, and also most importantly, our contractor friends right here. Okay, so just now we mentioned about BuildSpace Pro and BuildSpace eProject, and this is to give you a clear picture of what is catered in both Pro and eProject. As you can see from the screen right here, BuildSpace Pro is concerned as a core module where all the BQ and costing for a project is done inside BuildSpace Pro, and any other works revolving the set of project BQs that we have. And whereas BuildSpace eProject is more like a collaboration and management platform for managing an e-tender, managing our contract, also to pull out our presentation or analytics, and also our vendor registrations and selections all the way to from the beginning of the project towards the end of the project. In terms of our users and also the suitable suite for our target users in respect to the roles and also to the responsibilities, and eProject will be adopted by real estate developers and government bodies and project manager as well as main contractors, whereas Pro is more for builders, subcontractors, and also QS consultant, where the most of the scope is actually revolving around a preparation of PQs and also cost estimating. And these are the clients who are using BuildSpace eProject now. I believe some of you might have participated in the tender. These clients call out using BuildSpace. And since we're finalizing our collaboration with a few more major developers, then we can actually foresee there will be more names to be included in this slide in the future. And you will be submitting and also participating more tenders in BuildSpace in the near future. And that is also very excited to share with you all. Yep. So as far as tender is concerned, then we also want to talk about submissions of tender. And these are some of the slides that cut out from the webinars that we have in April this year. The title is actually how to remain profitable in construction projects. I think at this point in time, after the whole period of MCO and also the lockdown, and we have gone through a lot of things. 6 months down, I think 6 or 7 months down the road, then we also have some new stories and to be included to enrich the content right here. And let us take a look for strategies and also profitability. Then let us take a look at the simple breakdown of a contract sum right the way that we have here. You see, if for a work that with a contract sum of 15 million right here, and with the average of profit margin of 10%, then the gross profit we'll talk about is, let's say, 1.5 million. But if we also break it down to the items like capping amount of retention, the retention sum, then we'll only have net bring home profit of 750,000 that we're talking about. So if we spread it over to the 10 months of contract period, then an average monthly profit we're talking about, a gross one here, is only 75,000. So 75,000 in this case will also to talk about, let's say, the loss of our opportunity cost that might happen along the way. And also we also need to reserve some of the cash and also some of the profit to counter our LD. And also margins of errors in BQ, sometimes it might happen as well. Subcons overhead, bank facilities, and performance bond, and it will also further reduce the net bring home profit in a project. So if we also take a look, if we're lucky enough to actually secure a monthly 75,000 of the profit that we have, then this is to also need to cater for companies' overhead and also finance for other jobs. So in a way, to be very careful with the way we price our tender as the preliminary contract sum, then we also need to have all these kind of things in mind. Okay, so therefore, since the margin for most of the projects that we have and also that we heard from our clients here, the margin is so thin, we need to be extra careful with the errors that we might have or we might be making during the tender stage. So of course, there are some solid reasons for us to dish out the underpriced tender due to whatever reason we can justify. We also want to know the fact that usually at the final stage of tendering, in order to get a job, right, we will bid as low as possible to win the tender. But the next thing that we know is also because of the underpriced tender, where we were hit by project cost overrun, then the output will eat into our profit and causing our financial distress. And in the end, a non-performing will happen. And we do have a couple of friends and from developer side and telling us this kind of sad stories over the past few months. And I also given some idea to come up with these sessions to share with you some of the things that we can actually avoid during the tender stage. All right, so theoretically, it is pretty simple to anticipate and but also very easy to overlook because we always prepare a cash flow projection based on the work done. But as far as cash flow is concerned, we also want to talk about the cash inflow. So assuming the common practice that we have in the market now of 60 days payment term, let us take a closer look in a project with a contract sum of 15 million. Your cash flow will peak at almost 5 million, which is 1/3 of the contract sum. And yet, it is not very common or we get advance payment in most of the job. So therefore, hence to make sure we sail smooth over the contract period, or at least for the first couple of months, let us take a look at the risk in the tender and how we can price properly to avoid it, or at least to minimize it. So based on the research that we have done, and also some of the readings and also some of the statistics that we have, then we can actually segregate the risk in tender pricing into 5 major components, which is related to tender pricing. So there are a lot more of tender risk that the literature is talking about, but we are focusing on the tender price itself. So the first thing is the errors that we made in pricing. It can be your arithmetical errors, such as your transfer error, our timesync error, our rounding error, but last but not least, also the pricing errors. The hard copy tender, that we used to use, and we are still using it in most of the projects here, where 100 pages of BQ does really encourage this kind of issues. And these few years, we have seen our tenders to digitize the tender process by inputting into their system or having it done in Excel. But I think we can actually do more than that. So we want to explore in this presentation, or what we announced here today is to also explore how is it possible to actually set up an estimating framework which is easy enough for you to quickly price in a BQ and still being very, very flexible enough to cater for your last minute change. So one of the risks is arithmetical error and estimating errors. The next one, for the jobs who are tendering with lump sum contract, or even there is a BQ with a lot of lump sum item, we might also want to break it down enough with details for us to start controlling the cost from the very, very beginning, because the detailed breakdown will assist us in knowing the margin that we were giving discount, so we were always aware of our bottom line right here. Another risk might be coming from our subcontractor packages, especially for our friends. If most of the time we sub out a huge portion of the job, then we might also want to make sure the price they quote is reflecting the actual scope of work. And for this, the most straightforward way is to cut out the BQ and to let the subcon to submit the price and to compare with our budget before we submit the tender. And undeniably, there are also risks inherent from the building design itself. So if we do not have enough time to do a thorough measurement, but at least based on the pricing, based on the BQ quantities, based on the breakdown of the resources and materials, and also the components of the cost that we can analyze, we will be able to visualize the likelihood of design error and price accordingly to include the risk that will usually happens in some of the index, let's say concrete unit index that we have, and total rebar per GFA, this kind of factors and also this kind of parameters that will be very, very useful for us to justify whether we have priced it correctly in our tender or not, or there are actually any errors in the BQs that we have. So to look at the quantity in such a way will be very helpful for tenderers and also contractors. And the last one is, interestingly, for preliminaries, and we always have tender to put in a huge block of profit in it. This is a bit dangerous, especially for one of my projects, to be honest. During the tender interview, then our project manager will start to ask all the tenderers to justify the prelim items, item by item, and to ask them to agree if they will only get paid when they prove the work is carried out, or it might not be, or it will be omitted from the contract sum. So therefore, in this case, if we actually price in our preliminaries and try to, then our price in preliminaries will try to be as accurate as possible. So it will be clear with what you are allowed to claim and what are about to be taken out. So today we will be looking at how to do a tender pricing, addressing all these kind of issues we have discussed earlier in BuildSpace Pro, focusing on cost library, costing library managers that we have, that we were going to discuss both in resources library, that is where we actually keep our material prices, and also how to do our build-up rates. At least from there on, we will be able to set up the estimating framework for you to use in tender stage. So whenever we are participating in the tender stage, what we need to do is just to import the tender BQ and start to link the rate from the library, and also to cut out the BQ and then to ask our subcontractors to quote. And then with all the prices in place already, then we will be able to analyze our tender price and also to do a bit of analysis on the resources itself. Then up until the moment that we were about to submit our tender, then we will also strategize a little bit on the way we mark up our tender submissions. So there will be another session tomorrow. We'll be focusing on finance and stock management, project planning. Then I will see you back tomorrow at the same time. But today, let us focus on the tender stage right here first. So what I'm going to show you right here is actually a login page of BuildSpace. Now, the good thing about having BuildSpace in place is that we do not really need you to install in a machine. That means we can actually work when there is a web browser and also there's internet, then you should be able to work on the go. So what you need to do is just to have a login credential and then put in the password. Then this is it. So the first thing first I want to share with you is on the resource library and how do we keep our material price and also our suppliers, quotations, all this thing. We have this library managers here, and then you will find it. You will find resources library and also schedule the rates, kind of useful. So resources library is where we keep our prices for materials, labors, plants, so on and so forth. So let us take a look at the materials right here. And for concrete, okay, then concrete grade 13, for example, the rate with this blue color here, that means they are data inside this item right here. So this is where we consolidate and also to keep all the suppliers rate that have been returned from the request for quotation. As for request for quotation, we will discuss it in detail tomorrow. Yeah. So from here, we can also use this current rate display type to actually use the highest or lowest or median as a basis of us to do our scheduled rates that we have. So take for example, I'm going to use a median in between, a median of the prices submitted by supplier A and supplier B. So if we move to scheduled rates here, as you can see from the screen, and this is how we actually manage our scheduled rates. We can actually do it based on the project type that we have. Let's say infrastructure, let's say building works, or let's say we can manage our library based on the zone, northern region, southern region, east and west Malaysia, so on and so forth. Then from here, we will be able to do our build-up rate for all the trades that we want. So now there is actually this item called recalculate. That means just now there are some changes in the material prices that we have. So all we need to do is just to recalculate. Then we're coming to the breakdown right here, and then let me show you concrete grade 13. Double click, then we should be able to see the resources category, the materials, labors, and plant. And this is how we do our build-up rate. And in the term that I would like to also call it is actually, this is how we set up a framework for estimating. So if we actually read some of the resources that are available from the internet, then as far as tender pricing and also tender pricing risk is concerned, there is one suggestion for us is to actually set up the price estimating framework, and this is what can be done in BuildSpace. That means you set up this all the factors and also all the wastage that we have it right here, and what you need to do is just to update the rate, and then it will be linked to your tender pricing, and then it will shorten the time. It will shorten the time that we spend on the tender exercise. So what I'm going to share with you now is, since we have the rate library now, then we're going to share with you whenever there is a tender project that you're participating, then what we need to do is just to come to our project here and start to create a project. So I'm going to put in a project name, then we put in the client name and also the country. State is important because it will also help us to sort out our our suppliers later, currency and start date. So once the project is start created, we can actually come in here and start to import our BQ right here. So I believe most of the tenders, usually when it comes to tendering, then you will also prepare BQ in Excel so that we can actually import it in for pricing purposes. So I'm going to share with you, these are the BQ that we're going to import in. So some of the each of the tabs that we have, as well as the preliminary BQs that we have it right here. So what I'm going to do in a bit special today is actually I will also time the amount of time that we'll be using to import the BQ. So what we're going to do is to add a bill called normal bill, let's say bill 1 preliminaries. Then change it to preliminaries and we save. Another bill that we're going to do is for bill 2 building work. Same. So the first bill that I'm going to bring in is actually our building work. So there is this function that we can use. It's called import from files, and we import from the Excel that we have. What we need to do is just to select this BQ and then map it according to the descriptions that we have. So bill ref is B, then we have C, D, E. If we have rate and amount, we can also bring it in. So import. Then all these descriptions and elements will be also automatically brought in. Then we just bring everything in. So voila, this is our frame and also external works. Then this is how the BQ will look like. So I'm going to repeat the same step for our preliminary bills. Import from bill, import from file, Excel, bills. Okay, description is from A to A, unit is from B, and quantity is from C, then import. Okay, so let's take a look at what has been imported in. Then this is all the items that we have in preliminary bills. So let us take a look at how much time we have spent with most of the, let's talk about the time that we spent is only 2 minutes. So there is actually no argument or no debate on there will be a lot of time to be spent importing the BQ into BUILDSPACE, and especially in the situation or in the case that you already have Excel in place. And the best thing is actually quickly to put in BUILDSPACE and start to do your pricing. All right. Okay. So there are a couple of things I want to set up things. So set up first. The first thing is actually to allow the markup. Allow the markup, and also for bill number 2. Then we will explain the need for having markup in detail. Okay. So let us take a look at how to do pricing in this bill here. The first thing that we can do is there's this function called import rate. Then since we have the framework for cost estimating in place already, what we can do is just to link the rate directly from the library that we have. Let's say take a look at the frame here. We have vibrate concrete grade 25. So what we need to do is just to check on these items and then select from our library of. Then this is grade 25, then we just click import. And the import rate will also bring in the breakdown of our materials or also labors and plants to be into the item itself. So take for example, we also have another item from structural level. Structural walls will be using the concrete. What we need to do is just to also check on the items right here and then select and click import. So this is how easily price have been brought in. So I'm going to do you a couple of more items right here. So let's say Y12 for diameter for wall input. And also let me come back to our frame here. We have 10 mm. We're 25 mm. We have 20 mm. And let me complete also with the formwork as well. Okay, since we have side of columns and beams, and we'll be using this one then to import. You see, this is how fast the rate has been brought into the tender price, the tender BQ, and also both sides of the wall, as well as sometimes we have formwork in meter that we can also bring in. So from here onwards, then for whatever thing that has been priced already, then we'll be able to see the percentage and also the grand total that we have. So let us take a look at how does it look like. For rate that we have, when we double click it, then we'll be able to see all the breakdown and also the plans and also the labels that we have inside the rate itself. But I'm also going to share with you the couple of another way to do pricing in BuildSpace Pro as well. So since if we have this, then what we can do is to do a build up rates for water stop tape, for example. So since if let's say we need to do a build up rate in the tender BQ, what we need to do is just to double click right here and then create a resources category for materials and also label. So for material itself, let's say we have Sika water stop with a quantity of 1 meter, then unit. Then we put in the rate of 0.80 cent. Then with the allowance of wastage that is optional, and also we can also put in the labor cost with a constant of 0.05, which is 2 hours. Then 1 day with a rate of 80. Then everything is calculated. Then we have 480 per meter run of the water stop. Is a bit then it's a bit organized in such a way. So another way is actually the direct input on the rate itself. Let's say we also have some of the items we want to put in the rate immediately. Then what we can do is just to put in 50 and also to put in 80 right here. So there are a couple of ways to put in the rates. Firstly, we link from library, then we also do a bit of build-ups and in the item, and also to directly key in the rates right here. But today we also want to share with you, if let's say there is a lump sum item and how to actually price it in, then to also have a more detailed and also objective breakdown so that you can actually control the risk in your tender price here. So likewise, I'm going to create a material as a resources category, and we're going to have concrete. Then we're going to link the concrete. We're going to link the concrete from the library. So let's say we have concrete grade 30 tape, for example, then we import to build up. And also we're going to have, say, formwork, plywood and mixed wood. Then we're going to use this formwork to build up. And also we're going to use some rebar of Y20. So rebar is here. So Y20. So once we have set up all these materials right here, then what we need to do is just to put in our quantity. So having this quantity measurement to be safe, we can actually do something like that. So we can straight away key in the item and also key in our quantity right here. Then the software will help us to calculate it automatically. So in this case, then we also might need two numbers of formwork in the constant of 0.25 as actually the height of the formwork itself. So we will be able, this line total will be calculated automatically, and the wastage will be follow the one that we had in library. And let's say for rebars right here, then 0.0 0.09, assuming they will be using poundage of 50 kg per meter cube. So the item of this curve is actually 48 ringgit 55 cent. So if we really come back to, the BQ itself, then we'll be able to see the blue one is actually the one with the breakdown, then the black one is actually with the one we key in directly, and also the green color one is actually the one that we link from the library right here. Okay, so in the situation we also need to add note, then we can also edit the item note here to check with supplier as a note. Then it will be very convenient for you to actually include. So in that case, sometimes when there is the project which is in the lump sum contract basis, where you actually need to do a bit of measurement, we can also come in here and start to work out the quantities if we need to. Otherwise, we will just remain as it is. So up until here, from the way we can actually look at the breakdown and also the component of the cost here, and all the costs will also take out the percentage here. So the QS or the cost estimator will actually put out the tender rates, then we will be able to tell whether our distribution of cost is rational or not from based on the components that have been tabulated right here without needing us to set out any formulas. Okay. So up next, we're going to share with you on how to actually price in our preliminaries. Pricing in preliminaries, there is actually something that we'll always say a QTF, which is quantity-based or also time-based and also facts. Then I'm going to share with you how this prelim being priced in BuildSpace in a similar manner. I'm going to share with you the quantity-based item tape, for example. It's actually there is actually a mock-up unit that we have. Then we might want to do a bit of measurements and also a bit of BQ-like costing right here. Let me get an item for you. So let's say the landscaping would take, for example. So what we need to do is just to double click into this rate here and also to put in the materials. Oh, sorry. Resources category here to put in our preliminaries here. So once we have the preliminaries, then we can actually say close turfing. The quantity to be 200 meters square and the rate to be 7 ringgit, then we should have the amount right here. So another item that we want to share with you is actually time-based, which is our, usually we have damage maintenance on the existing road. Okay, let's set this item. So what we need to do is just to double click right here and also again to create a resources category, add in preliminaries. I will share with you how wonderful this function is later towards the end. So what we need to do is just to put in, let's say, some description, maintenance of road, then put in our quantities like this, 18 months of contract. So rate is estimated 3005, then we should have an amount right here. So another item is actually a fact base, which is our shop drawings. Hold on. Okay, so shop drawings to be submitted by the contractors, then we can actually also create a category for preliminaries. Then we put in shop drawings for aluminium works. Then 5 set. Then rate is say 400%, then we should have this amount right here. So from up until here, we have actually seen a couple of ways to price as detailed as possible and also to price as objective as possible, and then also to establish an estimate framework for last minute changes or also things to be updated before we actually submit the tender. So from here, once we have set up all these formulas and also the framework, now we want to share with you on how to actually request for quotation for material and also to our contractors right here. So as tomorrow there will be another session, then we will also go into detail. There is this function called request for quotation. From now I'm just going to share with you some of the features for request for quotation, and this is where we can create a request for quotation and send it out to the suppliers that we have chosen, and then to actually ask them to fill in the price for us. So tomorrow we'll be talking about this thing in detail, but today we want to focus on the project itself. If let's say they are works that need to be done by our subcontractors, then how can we easily split our BQ into sub packages BQ, and then we will have our contractors to quote for us. Take for example, we can also take a look at our sub packages right here, and then we create a row called misery works. Then from here we can extract the BQ from the build itself easily. What we need to do is just to double click and also to click on external wall and select those items and easily import into sub packages. And also there also is partition. What we need to do is just to click and import. So from there on, our sub packages BQ is actually completed and ready to be sent out for the contractor to price in. So what we need to do is just to come back here in sub packages and then assign a subcontractor. So what I'm going to do is to select a contractor from the list that we have. So I'm going to select ABC contractors, and also let us just do B contractors then. Okay, so let's say these are our two subcontractors here, then we need to assign them with the units of work. The good thing about having this function in place in BuildSpace to assign the types and units is we can have multiple subcontractors to work on the same trade, but in different type of unit. That means you can have level A or level 1, and you can have level 2 kind of thing. Okay, so likewise for contractor B, we also want to assign the types and units for him. So from here onwards, what we can do is to export the sub packages in Excel file to our ABC contractors. When we export it out, right? Let us see what when the subcontractor actually receives the Excel file. What they need to do is just to price in the amount of the work, then to send it back to us. I'm just quickly put in the amount that to be submitted back to us. Let's say 5, say 3. Then the total amount for the formal tender is actually automatically calculated. So save. So once it is saved, we can actually once the contractor actually submits us back to us, what we can do is import the BQ that they return it back to us by email. Okay, ABC contractor, then we click open. Then we should be able to see the price here already immediately, then without needing us to actually key in. And what I'm going to do for you is actually I repeat the same step for contractor B, for example, so that we can see the comparison. So from export, likewise, B contractors, we export, then open it up, and then put in so we elect the contractor to price in the BQ that we given to them. Okay. So from here, I'm going to take 68, 38, 4, 2, and scroll the way down. There's this partition of 68 and also 38. I'm going to save, and then we're going to repeat the same step for importing the BQ again. okay, for B contractors. So once it is import, then we should be able to see the item right here. All right, so as soon as we close it, then we should be able to also see our estimated amount here. And with double click, then we will be able to see the prices of contractor B and also ABC construction. If we also drill down further to the level for each of the bills and also each of the items, then we should be able to see all the breakdowns we have. So the good thing about having this function in place when you use it for your tendering stage is that we will be able to know our estimated amount, whether is it enough to pay for the contractors and also the subcontractor who are actually will be carrying out the work for us. Okay. So in the situation where ABC construction give us a bit of discount, we can still do a bit of adjustment on the rates right here. Otherwise, then it will give us a very, very good and very objective comparison on how we should actually submit the price that we have. So ladies and gentlemen, we have actually done all the pricing in the tender. That will be including whether we do our build up rate ourselves, and also we actually have requests for quotation from our suppliers, and also we request quotation from our subcontractors. So we've all been saying that all this thing being done is basically to get ready for these two amazing functions that we have, is what we call project analyzers based on resources analysis and also the schedule rates. Let me share with you this resource analysis that we have. So if our build-up rate is done properly, then we should be able to see our material cost is the breakdown of our material cost, our labor cost, our plant, and also most importantly, our preliminary cost. All right. So if let's say we drill down further to the material level, then we should be able to see each of the materials that we need, and from here, then we should then it will have all the breakdown right here, and then from there on, based on the total quantity, it will be easier for us to adjust our wastage to allow. Let's say if the quantity is a bit less and the wastage is a bit more. So from here on, the top management level towards the end of the tender closing period, tender closing date, it will be very, very easy for him to adjust all these factors and also parameters that we have. So from here, if we also need to do a bit of checking on where this item came from, then we can also drill down and also to record where does this item being linked to the BQ itself. Next item we want to share with you is also on the preliminaries here. So it will also give us a summary of what are the things that need to be done and what are the things that need to be paid out during the preliminaries, so that we can also monitor and also plan our procurement and also cash flow accordingly. Then back to Project Builder here, the next thing that we want to share with you is, since just now we talk about the changes that we have made in the wastage right here. So the changes that we have made in wastage, what we need to do is just to do up a bit of recalculate, and the software will automatically help us to update all the tender price right here. So the next one we want to share with you on the schedule to rate analysis is to allow us to put in our markup rate and markup percentage based on the item and also based on the element. So again, what I will always like to share with the users and also our clients is that our project quantity will be also helping us and also giving us a basis to do our item markup. And also, it is also very important not to mess up your wastage and also markup together, because towards the end of the tender stage, right, if we really need to do real-time bidding with other contractors, then at least having a record of the markup right here. Okay, let us put 10%. Having a record in the markup right here, that will also allow us to understand what is our margin and how much discount we can offer to client in order to secure the bid without compromising your future profit. Yeah. So once we put out the markup, again, we also need to recalculate. then we should be able to see the total markup and also total markup percentage and also the amount. So this is the margins that we're talking about. So what we have done is at the level of item, but for each of the element, then we can also put a bit higher at the element of frame or structural walls, let's say 10. Then we can also do a bit a little bit less markup in external or internal walls, so that you can also strategize your payment collections. You can also strategize a bit of loading at the front side, so that you can also have a healthier cash flow, so that you are more prepared for all this kind of thing. So what we have seen so far is on the element level markup and also on the item level markup right here. So all these things were actually being captured in the system in a more systematic way. Then what we need to do towards the end is just to, if the client is still using a hard copy BQ, then what we can do is just to copy in the rates that we have sent. At least it will help you to reduce the chances of arithmetic error and also to transfer error. So everything is more transparent and also more objective right here. All right, so that's pretty much in related to tenders. What I'm going to share with you is a bit expensive, but I hope you find this. I hope you find this informative. All right. So let me summarize what we have. Let me summarize what we have discussed so far. We would just earlier today we also discussed about the risk of, let's say there's the risk that's not reflecting the market conditions. That means there are errors, and also there's no enough breakdowns in lump sum work item. There also unmanaged scope of subcontract works and risk in the building design and also the budgeting for preliminaries. But we have seen how this thing can be actually mitigated and also been avoided and also been done in a better setup by having this BQ and also cost data library, and also use requests for quotations so that your rate is more realistic in that sense. So set up the cost breakdown first. So even if the request for quotation come back at the very last minute, then at least we will be able to still update our tender price easily. Then for the absence of breakdown on lump sum work item, then we have seen how to do build up rates and also quantity taking off. Then most importantly, we'll also want to see what is the weightage and also the amount and quantum of work for our sub packages BQ and also our subcontractors work. Then from here, we have seen how amazing is if we can use analysis of resources and also analysis of schedule rates. Then we'll also have a bit of discussion on pricing of preliminaries based on our QTF principle. QTF principle again is quantity-based, time-based, and facts. And this is what we learned from in one of our project dealing with our project manager in Singapore. And they are very, very, very strict in controlling the preliminary. So if you're having project dealing with consultants from overseas, then make sure we also have to be very careful with the way we price our preliminaries. So I believe we have clients and joining with us together as well. Then this is one of the items we can also look into on how to save our construction cost. Okay, so what we have seen today is actually on the tender stage. And tomorrow we'll be looking at our resources management, talking about project planning and also finance and stock management. So if I have the if I have the privilege to see you online back again tomorrow at the same time, then we will take a look at how to prepare Gantt chart, how to prepare a project S-curve, and how does it relate to our procurement. And then most importantly is to take a look at how to use BuildSpace Pro to manage your stock and also your warehousing. But for those friends who actually been with us for quite some time already, I believe you had enough from us talking about our post-contract management and also our record management. So this time around, we won't be touching these two items as much, but we will want to highlight to you these two items that we think is quite important for you to actually have to win some jobs, and also at the same time to to increase the profitability. So speaking about increased profitability, of course, having BuildSpace in place, and like one of our clients had told us, by using BuildSpace Pro, they will actually reduce their need for manual work. They will rather spend time to actually set up the BuildSpace system so that everything will be more automated. Then their workflow is streamlined, and also they will have a collaborative platform so that the staff will be able to work from multiple places. Let's say your office, let's say they are work from home, let's say they're in the construction site. So everyone is more everyone will be more interactive and also be more collaborative. All right, so having this month, then we were having this promotion to share with you. 11/11 is coming, but this is the promotion that we have for some of our clients vendor. That means for Gamuda and for Gamuda's contractor, or even for our UA contractor, then they're enjoying this kind of package. But today we also want to open up for you all. If you sign up by November 13, then by the same price that we are subscribing, like the project on the screen right here, then we will give you 2 more additional users and also extended 2 more months. Then it will also give you a bit of saving, about 1,000 plus there per year we're talking about. So immediately in terms of infrastructure and support, the package will come with a private cloud server by DigitalOcean. So as far as BuildSpace is concerned, right, a lot of people will actually think it's actually a SaaS platform like Ariba. In fact, it's not. In fact, each of the client, right, you will be getting your own private cloud server. That means even us also, that means with the data that you actually put in the private cloud server will not be accessed by any other party, even by BuildSpace. Then that means it will also help you to secure your confidentiality of the data. So in terms of support, then implementation plan will be from BuildSpace, and also we will also assist you to import your ongoing project BQ so that you can actually migrate over BuildSpace in a more convenient and also in a more smoother transition. Okay, so up next, what we're going to have is actually a user guide. Then you can actually download it. And in fact, today you can also download a handout. Then there is a confirmation page. You can also sign it back and send to us. Then we can arrange something for you. Then as a bit of hard selling from my side, is actually tomorrow we'll be talking about effective materials management for construction project in BuildSpace Pro. We'll be talking about how to use your project BQ to do planning, how to use your project BQ in post-contract stage to procure, and also how to manage your DOs, your invoice, your warehousing, your distribution on site, then everything in one place in cloud. Okay, if you need to talk to us, then these are the channels that you can actually either send us by email or actually get in touch with us on our website. All right, so ultimately beyond digitalizations, then strategically BuildSpace is heading to the direction where we'll be using artificial intelligence and also machine learning to allow the automated construction cost estimate to happen. But with that being said, it will also require the users to have a volume of cost data so that when the system is in place, then you will be able to enjoy the benefit. All right, so from now on, before I take in questions, then I have 2 polls I might need you to help me to give me a bit of answer. The first one is, do you wish to be contacted to schedule an online presentation to understand BuildSpace Pro in more detail? You can actually click on yes here, then my colleague will be contacting you then to also schedule a presentation, so to map all this, to let you know what are the functions that we have, and also to discuss about the benefits that you can actually enjoy having BuildSpace in place. Yep, we have seen a lot of encouraging feedbacks that we have. Thanks a lot. Well, we'll leave this poll for another 1 minute, so we make sure we have all the friends have voted. And I will be starting to look into the questions. For those who actually ask questions, then please stay with us so that I can address to your questions right here. If you have left, then I will also read out the questions and also my answer. Then I will draft an email to you after this session's end. Okay, thanks for the feedback that we have. So we're going to have another post. Do you wish to be enrolled? Do you wish to be enrolled into BUILDSPACE referral program, especially where we do have students and also to have contractor friends right here? If you find the functions and also the features is good, then you can also help us to put up some good words for you to your friends, so that we can also provide you with some incentive if you wish to. Likewise, we'll also keep this poll for another minute so that everyone has a chance to also cast and also let us know what do you think about. All right, so since we are approaching 5 o'clock now, so I'm just quickly go through the questions that we have. The first thing is the system can do comparison in pricing? Contractor usually do comparison pricing, the difference with the price used with a tender quantity with one of them. I believe you're referring to the comparison of the prices submitted by either by tenderers or prices submitted by the subcons or prices submitted by the suppliers. In both cases, it is actually possible. So maybe we will show you in detail when we have a separate call online separate online call with you. Then we will see how to compare this item side by side. But at the moment, for what I will suggest is actually positive. Yeah. And for the request for quotation part, the quotation get back from the subcontractor are in PDF version instead of Excel version. So the quotation get back in PDF need to be transformed into Excel first, then only can import back in the BUILDSPACE. In this case, what I would suggest you to inform your tenderers and also, to inform your subcontractors and also your suppliers, then request them to submit back the original Excel file for you so that you can actually import straight away back into BUILDSPACE. Because once you start to convert it, then the file ID at the backend will not be similar. So once the file ID at the backend is not similar, then the software doesn't really allow you to import back the Excel again. So it is actually controlled by the file ID itself, right? So in this case, then I hope I have answered your questions. Can we have this video recording? Yes, we will actually upload into our cloud server. Then we will send you the link to everyone who actually registered the. I'm just going to close this vote. Thanks everyone for the vote. Okay. For this video recording, we will actually upload to our cloud server. Then we will send the download link to everyone who registered to the webinar sessions today, so that you can actually also review it and also to share with your friends. Next question is, can I have the recording for today's webinar? Yes, you may. All right. Let me see. I think that's pretty much about the questions that we received today. Then for that, I wouldn't want to take up too much of the time. 1 hour is just nice. And thanks a lot once again for joining us online today. I hope this whole webinar thing somewhat give you some information that you were looking for. You somehow find it informative. You somehow find it useful for you. So till we meet again, please take care of yourself and stay safe. So I hope I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, we have another question is saying, what are the difference between BUILDSPACE and BIM? Well, a very good questions. As far as BuildSpace functions is concerned, right? We haven't really done much on B, to be honest, because BuildSpace is more on procurement and project management. It will as far as BIM is concerned, if you're talking about BIM in design, BIM in cost estimating, BIM in quantity taking off, or BIM in clash detection, all this kind of thing, I believe there will be a lot more people doing better than us. We have friends from Golden joining us today. Let me see if he's online. They are doing very well in BIM. So what we can do is actually allow the user to do the measurement in Golden cubic cost, TS and TRB, and start to bring it into the system and start to call up for tender in eTender if you're if the client is using eProject all right, so there is still there is still very distinct and significant difference in between BuildSpace and BIM, because the scope of what that we cater is a bit different. All right, then we'd like to discuss with you more in detail if you wish to. All right, there's another question asking, can I use BuildSpace offline? And unfortunately, we'll have to say it is impossible, because BuildSpace is actually a cloud-based system. Then you basically need an internet and also a web browser to access. So in this case, all your data and also your project information is actually saved online. So in this case, you need to be online so that you can actually work. All right. Any more questions before I end this session? Then, can I use it on the phone? It will. Let me be. In this case, then, if you just want to view some of the informations that we have in BuildSpace Pro, then you can actually use it on your mobile phone, which is your, let's say, your iPhone, your Samsung. If your screen is big enough, to be honest, because since we do not have a mobile app now, but all this, the system can be accessed by using a web browser. So if you have Safari in your iPhone, then if you have Google Chrome in your Android phone, then we can actually use it to access the project information. But honestly speaking, I do not really suggest and also recommend you to work on your phone, because it might be very tiny for you to key in something, then it is not advisable. But to view and also to retrieve some of the project information, then for you to present in your meeting, I think it should be fine. Yeah. And it will not eat too much of your data as well, because we do not need to download a lot of things. Then it is just presentations of digits and also the data only. All right. So, and with that, once again, I thank you a lot. I thank you, everyone, and stay safe. I will see you again tomorrow for 4 p.m. Then we'll talk about how to use BuildSpace Pro to manage your post contract. All right. See you. Bye bye.